One of the ways that we source parts for a job that requires multiple components is we call the dealer and we say, hey, we're going to be doing this job. I know you've done them in the past. The technician has this list. Do you see anything missing, right? They're our advocate. And I look at you guys kind of in the same way, is because y'all are somewhat advocates to those who are buying parts. Did we get all the parts we needed? And I've even pulled up videos before and said, something about this doesn't look right. I can't picture it in my head. What have I got off here? Something just doesn't feel right. And I've gone to one of your videos and said, aha, right? It can be an information resource for anybody. So I think that's huge. I don't necessarily think it has to be, us against the DIYs, right? And I think sometimes owners look at it like that. And a lot of times they have to clean up the messes of the DIY guy.
Yeah.
I hope somebody's telling them, look, if you bring me your car, half torn apart, that's going to be a lot more expensive than if you just hadn't touched it all. We know that, right? I mean, is there a video about that?
I'm not sure if there is. We could Dan and I could definitely work on that. But I mean, 100%. Like, I've been on that other side of the counter where somebody comes in, they're like, I bought this online. Can you install it? Or can you fix my car? And I'm like, I don't know that this is the problem. Like, you have to go through the whole speech about the diagnostic angle and like, this may not fix it. We need to diagnose it first, blah, 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 blah. Like, you have to cover your bases. And we would kind of have like a couple of different angles in terms of like that. We didn't rake somebody over the coals on labor if they brought in their own parts, but we also made it clear that if that part failed, we were not going to cover their labor for them. We were not going to like jump through hoops because we didn't supply that part. We can't guarantee the quality on it, et cetera. But we were very quality focused, much in the same way F-Spiero is.
Well, one of the things that I thought was really neat, and something that has saved me a couple times, is this whole explanation. And I think it was Dan. Dan, you sent me the link to this, where it was explaining to a consumer the difference between OEM, OES, right, aftermarket. Yeah. So many, I hate to say this, David's going to kill me. I'm not even sure if David knows. Luckily, he's in the parts business, so we can't make fun of him too bad. You know how many owners don't know some of that information? You know how many owners are over here and it says on the box, original equipment, or, what was it? Was it World? I shouldn't talk bad about World Pack.
It's World Pack.
Wasn't there a part brand called OEM for a while? Like you thought you were getting OEM parts. David's still installing OEM parts. He's like, this is the original equipment manufacturer right here. It says on the box OEM.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's just another layer of part of if you can imagine the do-it-yourselfer that maybe they landed on our website for the first time. It's our intention to make sure that they get there and they have the absolute utmost confidence that they're going to buy the right part for their budget, right? Their budget might include the genuine part. It might include the part, the same thing they could source from their dealership, or it might be that what we would call the OE part, which is the same thing in a different box, right, from the manufacturer that produces it. Maybe it's OEM, or maybe it's just a straight up aftermarket part. But the way that's defined in what we call the OE Academy, it's just broken down into just the simplest plain English explanation of here's the different categories. And if this is the quality you're after, this is the category, and the associated little tag on the website. This is the tag you need. If this is your budget, you want genuine. If you're after this, then you want OE, right? And we really want to make sure that if they're not a power user of our website and they land there for the first time, they can get all of that information and have the confidence before they've spent $1. They are educated in some way. They are informed in some way before they've even placed a single order with us. They can get some kind of benefit just by landing on our site.
And so what do you say to the shop owner? Because one of the big things that most all the coaches are teaching now, all of the folks in the group, say it over and over again. We don't do customer supplied parts. I don't do them in my shop. What do you say to that shop owner who finds themselves, I went to FCP Euro, I got this part, it's OE. I'm sorry, I can't install it. What do you say to that shop owner? How can we have a symbiotic relationship with you guys and still provide what we provide for our clients? What are you guys seeing as far as that goes?
It's a common discussion. It's a really common discussion. There are folks that reach out to us all the time and they ask us if we have shops that we know of that they can ship their parts to, or that they can take their parts to and have them installed. And it's not really something we have a position on, like, officially. But if you really think about it, you got to ask the shop owner, Well, when the vehicle owner comes to you and they're interested in this OE part or this particular brand, what is the vehicle owner's motivation for even initiating that conversation? It's because they wanted to have some kind of input. They truly care about what parts are being installed on that vehicle. They really have a vested interest to have some kind of input to the direction that their vehicle is going to take before and after it leaves. And is that okay? You got to ask the shop owner. Is it okay for them to have that direction? And if that is, maybe it's not you bringing the part into the shop. Maybe it's working with the shop owner to discuss what brand of parts gets installed. I think it's safe to say every shop owner has their opinions on certain brands and categories that they will or will not install. But is that open for discussion? And I know you guys run your own shop, so you tell me if a vehicle owner wanted to talk to you about the brands, is that an open conversation?
Yeah, and for me it is. Right? It's an open conversation. The difference for me is that when we have that conversation, it's about me providing the value to them. Okay, here's why I need to supply the part. Because I'm going to offer a 36-month, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty, no questions asked. Right? Now, if you supply the part, I can't do that. And therefore, if the part's wrong, if the part's bad, if there's a problem, it definitely is going to cause a concern down the line that I can't stand behind. And that's going to cost you substantially more. However, if I provide the part, and it is going to be more expensive than what you pay, but you're getting something for that. You're getting a repaired vehicle. You're not buying the part. You're not buying the labor. Dutch is going to kill me. I've said it again. I sell a repaired automobile. It's different, right? And so what I'm bringing to the table is not what you can go to FCP Euro and buy. If you want to do the work yourself, that's great. Go buy it and go do it. But me personally, if you want me to do that work, if you want me to be able to offer my killer customer service, client service, whatever you want to call it, look, I'm going to send a tow truck. If we're wrong, I'm going to send a tow truck. I'm going to give you a rental car. It doesn't matter where you're at. I'm going to pay to fix it. If it broke something else when it broke, I'm going to pay to fix that. If I was wrong about the testing, I'm going to pay for the repair. But if you bring your part, I can't do that. Right?
It's funny. That's literally the same approach that we always took at NGP when I was on the other side of the counter and working in a shop. Is like, look, if I'm supplying the part, I'm going to back it up with a warranty. I'm going to back up the labor. I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of, and virtually exactly everything you just said. But if you're bringing your own parts, I can't necessarily do that. So there's always a little bit of give and take when it comes to like a big online parts supplier and like an independent shop. None of that is going to be a perfect relationship. There's always going to be a little, not at odds, but there's competition ultimately in some regard. But at the end of the day, we look, anybody that's in the ecosystem that cares about quality and wants to do the best job possible. Like clearly, based on what you're saying, like you are the best kind of shop. You're willing to stand behind your work, back it up, and you have very valid reasons as to why you'd want to supply your own parts and everything like that. And for us, sometimes a shop owner such as yourself might, even though we're a DIY seller, like you've mentioned, you might be able to find a part on our website that you couldn't get through some other supply chain. And really any consumer who's interested in good quality repairs and good quality parts, I think is, an educated consumer in that regard is a better consumer to have, because Absolutely. If you're like, hey man, I'm going to put this part on your car and this is the reason why it's going to be $50 instead of $25, they're not going to question that because they know that there's a big difference in quality on that more expensive part. So for us, it's like, an educated consumer, they might come to us sometimes, they might not. They might go to you sometimes, they might not. But if they understand that quality matters and can carry those things with them when it comes to servicing their cars, and, that maybe makes the industry itself for independence, because really we're all independents at the end of the day. If that pool is a little bit bigger and a little bit better and a little bit stronger, that's, for the best.
Yeah. And see, that's a big thing for me, right? Because let's be real about it. The independent auto repair industry is not going anywhere, right? And those who don't believe in installing client supplied parts, they're not going anywhere. The FCP is not going anywhere. We have to learn to be, in one industry together. And if we can work together, it stands to reason that we can make things better. If we can learn how we can help each other and we don't have to be at odds with one another, if we can educate consumers, every day a client comes through our door, a client calls that is not the right client for me. And I'm sure the same thing happens to you guys. It's not that, and we talk about this all the time. There's a restaurant in town called The Peddler. They sell one of the best ribeye steaks in the country. And there's a McDonald's in town. I hate to tell you, if you go to McDonald's and try and get a Peddler ribeye, you're going to be disappointed. But if you try and go get a cheeseburger at The Peddler and pay for McDonald's prices, you're also going to be disappointed. Neither one is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Both of those things are okay. It's just you have to determine what's right for you and what's right for that business. And so I think we've got to work on that when it comes to suppliers and it comes to consumers and it comes to industry as a whole. We need to work on having a relationship and having communication with one another.
David, let me ask you this question, because I gotta dig in a little bit. I hope you don't mind me picking, but imagine the enthusiast, right? The one that I'm thinking of, not the one you're thinking of, but the one that comes to your shop and asks you and says, hey, I need brakes and rotors. Can I bring my parts? And you tell them no, right? You have a conversation with them. You tell them no. What if it
depends. It's not black and white for me. So
No?
it's not. Because it depends. Like, it depends on the vehicle.
Yeah.
So we have GTI customers and they love their GTIs. And
Yes.
They're hardcore into the GTIs. Okay, great. So if they jump on FCP Euro and they buy a kit, and it's a kit that I would myself personally recommend to them, and it's got, the nice stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I'm going to jump on the site. I want to do this, this, and this. Sure, I'll put it in for you. No problem.
So it's really
somebody
with you,
off
it's
the
more
street,
about.
yeah, if it's somebody off the street, never talked to them, no relationship, I haven't looked at the
Yeah.
car, no idea. They said, hey, the parts are in the back. I'm just looking for somebody to throw those parts in. I'm going to tell them no 100% of the time. 100% of the time.
That makes a little more clear.